Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Pro Wrestling WrestlePedia. In this episode, we are going to talk about the January 30th edition of Monday Night Raw and the January 31st edition of Tuesday Night Smackdown Live. And first, we're going to go straight into Raw here to talk about some of the things that took place on Raw. Because Raw was a pretty good show this week, and Smackdown was just not. It was, your average wrestling show. It wasn't anything special. And you would think after the big shocker that Raw brought, SmackDown would have tried to do something similar. But sadly, SmackDown was very lackluster this week when it's normally SmackDown that beats Raw when it comes to these things. So, I'll get into SmackDown in a little bit here. First, I'm going to talk about Monday Night Raw. And there was a match between Chris Jericho and Sami Zayn. Pretty good match. I liked it. Anybody that Sami Zayn wrestles, you get a good match out of it. Because Sami is just, he's one of those guys that can pretty much, pull a good match out of anybody. And he wins against Jericho. Of course, it wasn't for the U.S. title, which it should have been. But I think eventually Sami Zayn's going to get the U.S. title from Jericho. I think that's what this was foreshadowing. So maybe we'll see that at Fastlane, where Jericho drops the U.S. title to Sami. That'd be really cool, because Sami deserves some sort of championship, because he's a worker, and he's one of the best on the roster. So yeah, this could pan out to be something good for Zayn. But then there was a match with Tony Nese, and he was with Mustafa Ali, and Tony Nese won actually for the first time in a while. And then it was your typical cruiserweight match on Raw. It was like 5 minutes long, and it was just boring. But Tony Nese was walking up the ramp to see Austin Aries, and Austin Aries was going to, interview him. And he said something like, your in-ring abilities are great, but all your critics say you have clearance rack charisma, which started out to be pretty funny. And then Tony Nese just didn't answer him. And then Austin Aries says, okay, well, your critics also say that you got those nice washboard abs, but talking to you is like talking to an actual washboard. Which, also really funny. Tony Nese just stares at him and says, I don't have to answer to my critics, and then just walks away. Now, was this Austin Aries trying to bury Tony Nese? Because the fact of the matter is, Tony Nese doesn't have any charisma. So, basically what, Austin Aries said to him was 100% true. And it's like, that was almost a shoot, because, it seemed like a shoot to me, because, normally they don't say things like that to the wrestlers, because it's kind of just, ignorant. But, it was really funny. I was pretty much laughing the whole time, but I don't know. I think Tony Nese has a future. He's not, he doesn't suck, but he'll get somewhere. He's young yet. But then, Stephanie McMahon and Seth Rollins go face to face in the middle of the ring to talk about Triple H. Because Seth wants Triple H, and he wants him now. He wants to slay the king, he says. And I think everything Seth said to Stephanie was, it was impassioned, it was good, it was a nice promo. And he said, what happens if I invade WWE headquarters, and they go into the whole office, and he goes, what happens if I show up at your front doorstep and your little kids answer the door? Now, a lot of people on the internet are saying, oh, Seth threatened to beat up Stephanie's kids, and I looked at it I didn't think he meant that. I think he meant, he's going to show up at, their door, and the kids are going to answer, and the kids are going to have to see him beat up Triple H. His own kids are going to have to watch him get beat up by Seth. I think that's what he meant. I don't think he meant he's going to beat up their kids. That's kind of not right to say. Yeah, they've said worse on, WWE, but I don't they're past that kind of stuff. I don't think that that's what they meant. But there was a good promo, and Stephanie at the beginning of the promo said that Triple H wasn't going to be here tonight, but after Seth said that about the kids, then she said, "You know what, Seth? I lied. Triple H will be here tonight." And they ended up with a promo later in the night. I'll get to that in a little bit. So then there was a mixed tag team match, 6-man tag team match. Gallows and Anderson and Charlotte versus Sheamus and Cesaro and Bayley. This was very interesting. The dynamic between Cesaro and Sheamus and Bayley was like pretty funny because Cesaro was like all for the things that Bayley did. Like he loved the hugging thing and he was like all for it. He come out with the streamers on his hands like she does. But Sheamus was completely against it. Like he felt like, it was like what am I doing here? But they ended up having their match, and it was cool because Charlotte was like all for being with, Gallows and Anderson too, and like she was like even like too sweeting them and everything. Like during the match, she threw up a too sweet a couple times, which I thought was pretty cool for her to do that. Like Dana Brooke did before, but Dana Brooke is like garbage, so like it was like a cool thing that they did with the best women's wrestler on the roster. I ended up with Bayley picking up the pin over Charlotte in a really fun match. I thought the match was fun. It was decent. It wasn't like overly good, but it was a fun match. Probably it's gonna lead to like obviously Charlotte versus Bayley at WrestleMania. Bayley's finally gonna pick up the win, end her streak at the pay-per-views. And then we had the coronation of the new WWE Cruiserweight Champion, Neville. And Neville comes out and talks about, him being the king and everything. And still, to this day, I say Neville is the best heel on the roster of both Raw and SmackDown. He is just a genuine, asshole. He is just really good at what he's doing right now. And he comes out and is talking about all this stuff, and then Rich Swann comes out and says, something to the effect of, you deserve what you've gotten, the title, and, you're clearly one of the best in the world, and, that was a great match we had. And he goes to shake Neville's hand, and Neville gives him this, look, what do you think you're doing? And then he slaps his hand away and says, you think you want to shake my hand, why don't you bow before your king? Get on your knees and bow before your king. And that ended up with a little brawl. But it was a pretty cool promo. Rich Swann seemed more serious than he normally does. And it was nice to see that. Nice to see Swann being serious instead of just whatever. But then, earlier in the night, Mick Foley gave Braun Strowman a Universal title match that night, which is what we're now coming to here is Kevin Owens versus Braun Strowman. Now this, I think, is the best that Kevin Owens has looked in a long time. They've been kind of booking him as the cowardly heel, but he looked really strong against Braun Strowman. He actually, in my book, it looked like he was whooping his ass for a little bit. He was whooping Strowman's. And he looked pretty good until Roman Reigns comes out. Oh my God. I am so sick of seeing Roman Reigns in the main event scene. He comes out to get revenge on Braun Strowman for the night before at the Royal Rumble when Strowman costed him the match. So, Roman comes out, Superman punches Strowman, spears him, and he hurt Strowman more than anybody has hurt Strowman yet. Strowman actually laid there for a good 2 minutes after he got speared and everything. And then Roman goes back into the ring to, beat up Kevin Owens. And he spears Kevin Owens and stuff, and then he just, walks out all nonchalant like it didn't just happen, and he just didn't care. He just come like a genuine badass. But then Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman come out. And Paul Heyman gives this really, really good promo about the phrase "and but." Like, now since Goldberg has come back, or no, it's "yeah but," not "and but." But since Goldberg has come back, Lesnar has been beaten by Goldberg, and they say, "Yeah, Brock Lesnar is good, yeah, but Goldberg." And he kept saying things that had to do with "yeah, but," and then he challenged Goldberg at WrestleMania one final time. So this could be very interesting. I think it's going to be where Brock Lesnar finally wins. Because they talked about, that one guy that always has your number, which appears to be Goldberg for Lesnar. But I think it's going to end up with Brock winning. And they said next week Goldberg's going to be on to, answer Brock's challenge, which obviously is going to be yes. Like, he's not just going to come say no, but that should be fun to see that. I mean, it's obviously not going to be like, an awesome, amazing match. It's just going to be a cool encounter to see that. I think it's going to end with Brock actually squashing Goldberg like Goldberg did to him, but we'll see. And then there was another freaking match between Sasha Banks and Nia Jax. Sasha got beat up again, and she lost. I don't know what happened. Like, Nia had her in like a submission hold, and the bell just rang. She didn't even tap or anything. The bell just rang. I don't know what happened, but she kept her in the hold until Bayley comes out and tries to stop her, and everything was just Bayley getting involved, which I think is probably going to lead to a Sasha Banks heel turn on Bayley. Maybe after WrestleMania we'll see that, because obviously Bayley's going to be busy with Charlotte, so we'll see how that turns out with Sasha and Bayley. I think that's going to be Sasha's next feud with Bayley for the title, so we'll see. And then there was a tornado tag team match, because we haven't seen one of those in a long time, which was cool. Enzo and Cass versus Rusev and Jinder Mahal, and it was a decent match. It was fun, but it was Enzo and Cass picking up the win on Rusev. Really weird that they pinned Rusev. I don't like that. They should have pinned Jinder. It's just weird to see Rusev losing like that. Because he was pinned by Enzo. Because they did that finisher off the top rope where Enzo jumps off or whatever. I forget what it's called, but it was fun. It was nice to see. It was nice to see Enzo and Cass getting a good victory, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one. But and then Triple H finally shows up, and Triple H gives the best promo he has given in years, talking about how he handed Seth Rollins everything on a silver platter, and Seth Rollins just spit in his face, and then he basically he thinks Seth Rollins turned on him basically, but he was hurt, and he's blaming that on Rollins. But it ended up with Rollins coming out after Triple H says that he challenged the Creator, and now he's going to meet the Destroyer. And he said, "Seth Rollins, get your ass out here right now." Seth comes out looking pissed as all hell, and he starts walking down the ramp slowly. And as he gets to ringside, he's staring at Triple H. Out of the audience comes the freaking brutal submission machine, the stiffest worker I have seen yet. Samoa Joe made his surprise debut on Monday Night Raw, and I'm happy that he didn't show up at the Rumble, because that made this debut look a lot more important, because he came with purpose. He came and he just demolished Seth Rollins, and that's, he had him in a chokehold and everything, and he did a lot of moves on him, and he just put him in a chokehold and a sleeper hold and basically tried to put him to sleep. And I waited to do this podcast until I knew the news on this, because it looked like Seth Rollins was injured on Raw. So I waited to do this podcast so I can, see what happened. And it turns up that Seth Rollins re-injured his knee that he injured months ago, and just came back recently from. So that's not good. Like, Seth is going to be gone now for a little bit, but I saw a report that said he was going to be gone for 8 weeks, which, I mean, isn't too long, but it's going to make me... He might be back for Mania to wrestle Triple H, but I wanted to see Seth versus Joe at Fastlane, and I wanted to see Triple H versus Seth at Mania. But I don't know, we'll see how it works, because it looks to me like they're not going to be able to even build the feud anymore with Seth being injured and everything, so we'll see how this turns out. It's not looking good for Seth, which is a shame. But, okay, now we're going to get to Smackdown, because Smackdown was just not very good this week. And the opening of Smackdown was rather decent with none other than John Cena. Like, how else were they going to open it, though? I mean, it's cool to 16-time world champ showing up, opening the show. He gives a nice speech about how amazing, I did it, whatever. And then you hear the Wyatt family's music. And Bray and Orton come out, and Bray's talking about, basically here we're getting the same old crap with, John Cena being the champion. And he says that he's going to take the belt off of Cena at Elimination Chamber. And Orton says if somehow John Cena survives the Chamber, that Orton's going to take the belt off of him at WrestleMania. So, yeah, I think Bray's getting it at the Chamber, and then, Orton's going to get it, or not get it off Bray, but he's going to challenge Bray, and Bray's going to win at Mania. But we'll see. And then they start walking down towards the ring. The lights go out again with that Bray Wyatt, where they show a bunch of things at the faces, and, lights go out. They turn back on. Standing right next to John Cena is Luke Harper. And he's staring at John Cena, and then he turns his head to look at the Wyatts like he's going to fight the Wyatts. Which set up a tag team match with John Cena and Luke Harper versus Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. It was an interesting match because the whole match, the only way Luke Harper would wrestle was if Randy Orton was in the ring. Like, he wouldn't wrestle Bray Wyatt if Bray Wyatt was in the ring. Because there was a time where Orton tagged in Bray, and Bray went real close to Luke Harper, and Luke just ran and tagged in John Cena, and Cena's like, what are you doing? Like, it was interesting, because I think they're going to... I don't think Harper's done with the Wyatt family. I don't think he, turned on them or anything. I think he's going to do something crazy. Maybe an Elimination Chamber to make sure Bray wins to get his trust back or something. But ended up with Randy Orton hitting the RKO on John Cena, pinning John Cena 1, 2, 3, making their brand new champ look weak, which was, I mean, Cena just won the belt 2 nights ago. Why are they doing that? But I don't know, I guess make Orton look a lot stronger, which it did, and I liked it. Then we had Carmella versus a local enhancement talent named Delilah Dawson, who was very blue. And this was fun because I like Carmellsworth. Carmella and James Ellsworth together, they are interesting. Very entertaining, actually. And James Ellsworth gave a funny promo at the beginning, which is kind of heelish. He comes out and he's like, okay, everybody be quiet. And, he started being kind of like a little dick, but he introduced Carmella and helped her down to the ring. And in this match, Carmella was facing this Delilah Dawson, and Delilah Dawson got the ref's attention, and the ref's back was turned. Carmella got the ref's attention, and that Delilah's back was turned to Ellsworth, who was standing right outside the ring apron. He grabbed her by her legs, pulled them out from underneath her, and she smacked her face off the ring. And he got booed so bad because of that, and it was so funny. But then Carmella put her code of silence lock in to Delilah Dawson, and she tapped out, and it was pretty fun. But then, Dolph Ziggler versus Kalisto. Oh my god, I hate Kalisto. I really do. I can't stand Kalisto. I'm liking. I'm iffy on Ziggler a lot of the time, but since he's had his heel turn, he's been a lot more interesting. And I like Ziggler. He's all right, I guess. I mean, I don't know. He's a great wrestler. He's just, they just kind of got to figure out how to do new things with him. But this match was kind of stupid. It was like another short match where Ziggler won really fast, and then after the match, Dolph Ziggler tried to rip off Kalisto's mask, and then Apollo Crews came to his aid, causing Ziggler to just, run away. So this is probably going to lead to a match at the Chamber with Dolph Ziggler and Apollo Crews. God, do something with Apollo Crews. Oh my God, give him character, give him interesting things to do. I like him, but he's boring me lately, so we'll see where that goes. But then there was a tag match, Naomi and Becky Lynch versus Alexa Bliss and Mickie James. And again, Naomi gets the pin on Alexa Bliss for the second time in 2 nights, setting up a women's title match at the Elimination Chamber. Naomi versus Alexa Bliss for the women's title. I don't like this because I think that Naomi's there's a lot better talent that should go before her. I don't know. I'm not too big on Naomi. I don't like the whole dancing thing she does. I mean, yeah, it's fun, but this is wrestling, it just makes it look more like a show, and it's just annoying to me. But yeah, that happened, and then so there's gonna be that match at the Elimination Chamber, and then American Alpha, they are so good, but they're another team and 2 people that just aren't getting enough attention. They had a promo backstage where, just like they said, they won the titles a month ago, and no one has came to challenge them, which me and the rest of the Wrestling Mark world was hoping and praying that the answer to their... Well, first they said that they were going to have an open challenge in the middle of the ring, and a little, next. And me and the rest of the Wrestling Mark world was hoping that was going to be the Revival, because that would have been freaking awesome. But instead, they came out to issue their open challenge, and then basically every other tag team on the roster was out there to confront them. And they had a big brawl that lasted through a commercial break, and standing tall at the end was Heath Slater and Rhino, who I thought was broken up. So I don't know what is going on here. This is just all weird. But it ends in, at the Chamber, there's going to be a big tag team turmoil match with all them tag teams, fighting for the titles, which is incredibly stupid. What I'm thinking is going to happen, and what I hope, is American Alpha, somehow retains their title, and at the end, after the match is over, the Revival comes out and, makes their presence known, whether it's cutting a sweet promo or just beating up on American Alpha. So we'll see what happens there. And then at the beginning of the night, there was a promo with AJ Styles backstage saying how he wants his rematch. And Shane and Daniel Bryan basically said, yeah, you'll get your rematch at the Elimination Chamber with 5 other people. And it's that is not cool, because every other person, when they lose their title, they get a one-on-one rematch, and that's all AJ wanted, was a one-on-one rematch. But nope, at the Chamber, he gets it against 5 other people. That is so stupid. This is how they're treating the best wrestler in the world. It's just like he's, a nuisance. And it's getting old the way they're treating AJ Styles. But then Dean Ambrose comes up backstage and starts talking to Shane and Daniel. And Dean said, since Ellsworth is out of the picture, he believes that him and AJ had some unfinished business from TLC. So Dean wanted a match with AJ, which ended up being the main event. We haven't seen enough of Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles, but it was, a pretty decent match. The crowd was actually really into it, and The Miz was on commentary, because he's going to be in the chamber match with AJ and, I will get to that. But as the match went on, Baron Corbin comes out and joins commentary, and the whole time, Miz and Baron Corbin are just like going back and forth at each other. And Miz and Dean are putting on a pretty good match in the ring. And then eventually the Miz gets on Baron Corbin's nerves too much, and Baron goes over and just starts beating on the Miz. And there was like a big, not a big, but, brawl between them two on the outside. And Dean was getting annoyed, so he did the jumping suicado to, I forget whether it was Miz or Baron on the outside, but he hit one of them with the Morrow's favorite move. And, then it ended with him coming back in the ring. AJ Styles getting him for a pinfall. AJ gets the win, and he starts walking up the ramp. Baron Corbin, end of days to The Miz, end of days to Dean Ambrose, and then standing tall, staring down AJ Styles at the end of the night, was Baron Corbin. And I like this because I think ever since Baron Corbin has debuted, he has a lot of potential to be a main event superstar. And Baron Corbin's going to be huge one day. He has a lot of potential to be in the main event. He has a lot of potential to be one of the top heels in the company. And his wrestling abilities have, increased a lot too over the past year or so. So I think he's going to be pretty big someday. I think that's what they're trying to do, especially, after him eliminating Braun Strowman at the Rumble and all that. So we'll see how it goes with him, and then take it from there, I guess. But next week I will have my Raw and Smackdown recaps, probably the day before this is going up next week, so probably Wednesday. And then maybe Thursday or Friday I'm going to do my predictions video for the, not video, but podcast, for the Elimination Chamber. I'm going to predict how I think things should and are going to go. And with that said, I will talk to you next week, and we will see you then. Enjoy yourselves.